Hello, friends, and welcome back to the new episode of r/IDontWorkHereLady. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first little warm-up story, I'm just the gardener. You'll need to speak to the head maid. So my father is a warehouse worker, a regular grunt, and his fellow employee is also a warehouse worker and a grunt. My father's friend we'll call Ernie. Ernie is a hard effing worker, and while working a full-time job, sometimes for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, he's also a house painter. He has a little crew and works very hard. For this story, you need to know 3 things. 1, Ernie is a hard worker. 2, Ernie's wife is a hard worker, a nurse. 3, Ernie and his wife are Hispanic and banged at least twice to make 2 Hispanic kids, a daughter who's about 15 at the time and a son who's about 10 at the time. Now, after many years of saving and living a frugal lifestyle, Ernie and his wife buy a nice house in a very upper-class section of town. Just having moved in, Ernie starts by slowly doing his lawn work. His neighbor stopped by. The neighbor's wife did all the talking. "Excuse me, sir. Could you help us out?" "Sure. What can I do for you?" "We haven't seen the neighbors yet. We know you're the gardener, but we've been seeing the nanny come for a few days and need to know if she's available." "The nanny? Could you describe her?" "Petite, young, short hair, Latina." Ernie smiles. "Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just the gardener. Knock on the door and the head maid will help you out. I'm sure she knows the nanny schedule." "Oh, thank you." Now the neighbor's wife knocked on the door. Ernie smiles like a jackass and listens as his wife answers, and the neighbor's wife asks if she's the head maid, then asks if the nanny, her daughter, is available to hire. That's when Ernie's wife holds back the anger of 1,000 suns, and she asks who told her all that. She points politely to that nice gardener. Ernie had a good laugh. The neighbors were thoroughly embarrassed, and Ernie's daughter picked up a weekend shift as a babysitter. I like that Ernie had a good sense of humor. And our second story for today happens every day. I manage a sandwich shop located inside a Walmart, one patroned by a particularly unintelligent and entitled customer base. My company leases our space from Walmart, and for some reason, our location causes the customers to believe we answer to Walmart. Every day, we wheel our trash through Walmart to the back of the store where their compactor is located. Nearly every day, I get stopped by customers asking where products are located or how much they cost, and they become irate when I tell them, "I don't know. I don't work there." After the first few months, I'd had so many complaints at the customer service desk, I decided if they were going to complain, I'd better at least make it interesting. Now, when people stop and ask where something is located, I direct them to the opposite end of the store. "Oh, where can you find trail mix? It's over in the lawn and garden section because fruits and nuts come from trees." They give me a confused look for a moment, but then thank me and head on their way across the store. Perhaps it's a bit mean, but then again, I'm always in uniform with my company logo clearly printed on my shirt, hat, and name tag, and sometimes I do help their customers out. Once I had a man stop me and ask where we keep the beer. Biting back the quip, "My store doesn't sell beer, perhaps you should try Walmart," I instead pointed to the sign that clearly said, "Beer." Me. "You see that sign over there that says beer?" Man. "Yeah?" Me. Waits a few minutes for the light bulb to turn on, to no avail. Me. Walk towards it. My favorite mistake customers make, though, is when they think my store has to take whatever abuse they dish out like Walmart employees do. There have been a few instances where I've refused service to customers who verbally assault myself or my employees, and the tantrums they throw are both deplorable and amusing. They tell me I'm not allowed to refuse them service, and when I assure them that their horrible behavior means that I certainly can, they threaten me, demand to see a store manager, and when I tell them that's me, they demand the real manager of Walmart. I tell them my company is not owned by Walmart and offer to give them my company's hotline number. They just storm off to Walmart's customer service where they're informed again that we are not owned by Walmart and they cannot force us to wait on them. Usually when a situation like this happens, I get all high fives from the Walmart staff who saw what happened and wish they were allowed to refuse service to those kinds of people. And our third story for today. Arrested. Because I do work here. Some parts of this post are going to be difficult to explain for reasons that will become apparent as you read through it. and a lot of details have been left out for obvious reasons. Well over 20 years ago now, I was working for a UK government department as part of a team that dealt with what would today be loosely called cybercrime and national security. I was not a civil servant, but I was employed jointly by the Ministry of Defense, MOD, and the Home Office, HO. It was a civilian organization, but we were given a military rank by the MOD corresponding to the Army rank system and depending on how far our responsibility ran. My main job was finding things that the bad guys had tried to hide on computers and other electronic devices. Remember, this was well over 20 years ago, and things were a lot simpler in those days. Think Windows 3.1 and basic programming, and computer nerds were somewhat of a rare animal in those days. Real dinosaur days. No mobile phones even. And mobile walkie-talkies were the size, shape, and weight of the average household brick. When asked, members of the team regularly went out to gather evidence at various crime scenes. We worked alongside numerous police forces throughout the UK and could be called out anywhere from Cornwall to the Channel Islands in the south to the Outer Hebrides in the far north, all at a moment's notice. One day, we got a call from the London Metropolitan Police, MET, to attend a raid on a property in North London that was to take place very early the following morning. I don't know how it happened, but I was the only member of the team available, so I got assigned to go with the Met and take possession of any computers that might be found during the raid and hold on to them for continuity reasons in case things found on said computers were ever used in court. For security reasons, I was confined to the office overnight until I was taken to the address the following morning. I was never very good at sleeping in or on an office chair, so it was not exactly a restful or comfortable night. On arrival at the address of the raid, I'm the only person there not in uniform, but I do don a white coverall garment and plastic gloves and overshoes. I enter the building and am escorted to a room with a number of computers. Along with 1 or 2 Commodore and 4 or more Spectrum ZX computers, this will give you an idea of the time period if you know computer history. If not, just Google the names. There was a tower PC at the scene, something of a rarity in those days. The tower PC had 2 rather large hard drives. This was very rare and obviously very expensive as well, so something of interest. I was left on my own to do what it was I was there to do and took out the tools to do the job. I had just started to dismantle the tower computer when a voice from behind me shouted, "Hey you, step away from that thing." I was a bit confused by the approach and attitude, so I shuffled around in a kneeling position and looked at what I saw was a Met police constable, PC, standing in the doorway. I said something to the effect that I was removing the hard drives, and he just shouted again. I said, "Step away from that thing. You're interfering with evidence." Without trying to get up, I tried to explain again what I was doing. With hindsight, I should have said who I was rather than what I was doing. Next thing I know, I'm lying face down, and the PC was handcuffing me and yelling for support. Didn't use the term backup in those days. Hadn't seen all those US cop shows on TV yet. So there I was, face down, wearing the same white coverall suit with the same plastic gloves and overshoes the PC had on. But I was the one wearing handcuffs and apparently under arrest. Eventually, it seemed like a long time. I'd never been handcuffed before, so that would have made it appear longer in my mind. But eventually a police superintendent, Super, appeared on the scene, saw who I was, and turned to face the arresting PC. He looked him up and down slowly. I shall never forget the conversation that followed. Super. And you are? PC. PC Z123. Changed for obvious reasons. Super. And what's all the row about? PC. I've arrested a civilian who is impersonating a police officer and tampering with evidence, sir. Super. And he is? What's his name? What was he doing? PC. Don't know, sir. I saw him tampering with that thing. Points to the tower computer. I told him to stop and step away, but he refused. So I arrested him and handcuffed him to save the evidence. Super. And who is he? PC. Don't know, sir. Just a civilian. Super. Well, let me tell you then. That civilian is the representative of government department, and his job is to secure evidence that his department is going to examine for the Met. Furthermore, his rank outranks me. He's the equivalent of a chief superintendent. I'm just a superintendent. What rank are you? And he stressed the last word. Constable. I was released by a very embarrassed PC and helped to my feet. The PC was then told to guard the door and stay there, not to move, and not let anyone interfere with what I was doing. I finished the job, got all the evidence bagged and tagged, as you would say today. We never used that phrase back then, and left. I thanked the PC very politely as I left with all the evidence and was driven back to my office where I logged everything and placed it in a secure holding room until I could get at least 8 hours sleep so that I would be fresh for work when I started on the hard drives and tapes I'd retrieved. Yes, computers used cassette tapes for data and program storage way back then. To conclude, I found what the Met were looking for in and on the computers, the tapes and discs, plus loads of other stuff the Met did not know of before the raid. The Met charged him and a couple of others with numerous offenses under the Defense of Realm Act. Note: our department never charged anyone with any offense. The Met had a branch dedicated to this and always took over the case when it went to court, regardless of where the offenses took place. Whenever possible, our department was never even mentioned during any trial. In fact, my boss's boss was the first throughout the department's history to reveal that the department actually existed. She was also the first director to reveal her name to the press. Nowadays, the department even has a telephone number openly available in telephone directories. But that's it, by the way. Anyway, the outcome was that the bad guys all got to go to trial and each got a long sentence for what was basically endangering the state, plus some extra smuggling and trafficking offenses that got taken into consideration. As a bonus, the day following the raid, I got a full 12-plus hours sleep in a comfortable bed and was awoken the following morning by the girlfriend, who was later to become my wife, with a kiss and the best cup of cappuccino I've ever tasted. That's the story of how I got arrested for doing my job as instructed and got thrown to the ground and handcuffed, despite saying to the PC at the time, "But police officer, I do work here." Hey guys, thank you for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.